Welcome to another fun-filled edition of Second City Sports Zoom style.
Boom style.
Along with Lakeena McGee, which is she, I am Cindy Brown. That's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, at CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow this podcast, Second City Sports, on YouTube. Videos drop every Monday and Friday. Once again, videos drop every Monday and Friday right here on YouTube at War Media. Once again, at WARR Media. You can follow the audio version of this podcast at War on Anchor. Once again, at WARR on Anchor. You can type that in your search engine boxes. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. Type in those search engine boxes, WARR on Anchor. You can also go to our website, weareregalradio.com, for more details. And you can follow us on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at War Media. Once again, at WARR Media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are Unapologetically Fun, and we have very definite opinions. Lakeena, with less than a week to go before the trade deadline, things are looking good for at least on one side of town. So we talk Chicago baseball. Let's start with the first place, Chicago White Sox. There are currently 19 games over 500 as of this recording. They are playing in a 4-game series on the road against the Kansas City Royals as we speak. Eloy Jimenez, the first domino, has fell as far as their superstars returning to the lineup. He rejoined the team yesterday. For those of you listening on the audio version, he returned to the lineup on Monday. We'll give you our Cisco and Ebert reviews on his first 4 games of the season for him in our next episode. Lakeena, let's review the weekend series against the Milwaukee Brewers. The White Sox avoided a sweep by defeating Milwaukee on the road 3-1 last Sunday night. Liam Hendricks had a 2-inning save. Lance Lynn pitched a tremendous game, 6 innings with 6 strikeouts, and swung a hot stick early in the second inning, giving the White Sox 2 RBI, in which held up. The Sox, as I mentioned, avoided the sweep. They played nationally ball this past weekend. The Milwaukee Brewers are a good team, as we told you guys. The Sox had 3 errors on Saturday, which was inexcusable. They scored 2 runs in the first 2 games of that series, but they came out to play last Sunday. Lance Lynn led the charge. As we said all year long, we'll keep saying this until the Sox season concludes. They are led by starting pitching and timely hitting. The defense needs to improve. It was no good on Saturday. Last Sunday, it stood up.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a game that they really needed to avoid this week because the first 2 games were very good. They had 3 errors in the Saturday's game. On Friday's game, 10 errors and got ejected. So, and that definitely.
So did LaRussa.
Yeah, LaRussa was one I should say because they were arguing, a play that we won't get into it, but it just wasn't a good series for the White Sox. I think that Lance Lynn's solid start. I think especially in a national television audience, it was definitely like a game that the White Sox really needed for morale boosting. I mean, they actually find a way to take advantage of some of the run support and actually gave Lynn some run support. So that definitely, helped a lot. Lance Lynn actually helped his own cause by, having 2 RBIs with a single, that scored Garcia, and so Zavala, who's been very good since being brought up. He had a couple RBIs himself in this series. So I think that's definitely helped. I think getting Eloy back can only help the White Sox. Again, we'll see how they maneuver him. Is he going to be infielder? Is he going to be an outfielder? Is he going to DH? It's going to be.
He should be DH full time. That is it.
But
hide your gloves and hide everything else.
But you know what though? You know how Eloy is. He's very stubborn about that. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah. Look, I think once again, you're showing again that the White Sox definitely need some mid-relief help. I think that's really going to be the thing that's going to keep the White Sox from, not advancing far in the playoffs. I think that's definitely going to be one of those days that they're going to have, that Rick Ott's going to have to figure out. And look, it's going to be very interesting to see, how all this team manifests as we get closer to the trade deadline. What moves does Rick Hahn have in mind? Is he going to get, a middle relief guy? Is he going to get a bat? Robert might be back in a few weeks. So it's going to be very interesting what direction he goes. And again, there are going to be a lot of guys out there. We're not going to probably going to hear no more until when we reconvene again on Friday/Saturday.
Yeah, one of those players is Adam Frazier, the now former second baseman of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He was traded to the San Diego Padres over the weekend, so you could take his name off the list as far as considerations for the White Sox. You still have Escobar out there in Arizona. Mental relief, maybe Craig Kimbrell. I doubt it. Maybe a Turpa from the Cubs. I said Andrew Chafin. I'll still have his name on the list as far as possibilities for the White Sox to get some mental relief help. I know Aaron Bummer came in Friday's game. He did okay, but he's proven that this year it's been a struggle for him. He's been consistently inconsistent all year. You may still need him at this point, but I would prefer the left-handed middle reliever, but those are hard to come by. And so Rick Hahn, who was there in attendance over the weekend, he knows what the White Sox have needed for the past couple of months. And I know sitting up close didn't reveal too much more than he already knows. And so we know that he's working the phones as we speak. And let's see if he can strike up the possible deal. Yeah, I would still love to have a backup second baseman. Danny Mendick is not going to get it done. Larry Garcia, he's good, but he's your utility guy, mostly in the outfield as a replacement. He's not your everyday second baseman. So that's second on the list. But as I said before, and I'll keep saying this until we reconvene in our next episode, middle relief is the number one priority right now for the White Sox.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's going to be interesting what names, does Rick Hahn, approach. Teams are probably going to want some of their top prospects. I mean, the White Sox, it's like the White Sox have like a boatload of prospects, but there are a couple of guys that I think that they don't want to have to unload to get maybe perhaps, someone that's going to be like a rent, for the next couple of months. So, but the White Sox do need it because we saw it in the series that then we've been seeing it over the season. You're going to need to, you're going to have to kind of buckle down and, get a middle relief guy. And look, I know Frazier was a guy that some White Sox fans wanted. Unfortunately, the Padres beat you guys to the punch. It's going to be very interesting, though. What other names? I mean, do they try to get Kimbrel? I don't know. Do they go across town and get a Baez or a Rizzo, or do they get Bryant? I mean, there have been rumors about that. So again, who knows? I mean, it's going to be
maybe Trevor Story from Colorado.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, there is that his name's been floated around too for like the last couple of weeks. I know White Sox fans are really high on him, but if you're, it's going to be different going from, that with the high altitude in Denver to here in Chicago, where you can get hot in the hot weather, but once it starts getting cool, that's going to be when it starts to sort of can he kind of keep up that power? But again, it's going to be interesting. Like like you said, Sid, I mean, it's sort of we just don't know like whether you're gonna what direction Rick Hahn decides to go. I mean, there's going to be it's going to be like literally down to the last, like the very last like moments of the trade deadline. So it's going to be, it's going to be interesting to see what the prices for the asking price for some of these teams will be.
And we've been saying that for the past month. I know some White Sox fans didn't want to hear it around the 4th of July holiday. Oh, Rick Hahn needs to make a move now. The reason why moves like that don't get made around that time because the asking prices is too high. And right now, up to the trade deadline, you get the best possible deal. And at the 11th hour, you just don't know what could happen. So Rick Hahn is playing this correctly. You can't let fans run your team because if you do, you'll be sitting next to him with a pink slip in your hand. And so I trust Rick Hahn. He's going to do what's best for this team. You just hope that he doesn't give up too much.
Well, and I think if you're the White Sox, if you want to, get to the World Series or even get to the ALCS or get to the World Series, you're going to have to make some moves. And you may have to get rid of some of, maybe not all, but maybe one of your top guys that you have in your farm system that you might have to maybe, part with a position player. Who knows? I mean, like I said, it's going to be, look, the asking price of some of these teams are going to say, look, if you want to win the division and go beyond that, you're going to have to maybe, you're probably going to have to, pony up some of your top guys. We'll see what happens. All right. So as we get into, this week with the White Sox, I mean, I think it's it's 162 games. We've been saying this when they got swept by the Yankees. You can't really, go by one series. I mean, Milwaukee's a decent team and they got
Mhm.
Kansas City. They got a Kansas City series. They're starting. They're going halfway through their series in KC. A good but not a great team, but you should be able to at least win, if not at the very least split the series with Kansas City, so that you won't have to. You won't give the Indians or well, they're still the Indians, but they won't be the Guardians till next season. But do you think that this is going to be, is it going to be make or break for the White Sox at this point?
This series, no, but this month of games coming up as we near the end of July and to begin the month of August, yes, because you have Kansas City twice. You're facing them right now on the road as we speak. You'll face them next week here in Chicago after you finish a 3-game weekend series against the Cleveland baseball team. Just to be PC. But after that, you have Kansas City. Of course, you got the Yankees here in Chicago. The first game is on that Thursday with the Field of Dreams game. Of course, you got the Cubs in 2 weeks. Unless not this coming weekend, but the following weekend in Wrigley. And you have a national television game in that series on that Sunday night. So the lights are on them. The schedule is going to get tougher, and we all know, Lakeena, if you follow the game of baseball, August is the dog days of summer, and the White Sox schedule is just going to get tougher. And also, you have a 3-game series down in Tampa later on in the month of August. They just made an acquisition for former Minnesota Twin star Nelson Cruz, and we'll round the bases in our MLB segment from the weekend coming up in a few minutes. But if you paid attention to that series with Tampa and Cleveland, he made a huge impact right away. So the things are not going to get easy for the White Sox. And if you take a look at that schedule for the month of August, so this series right now, is it make it or break? No. Could it be for the month of August? Possibly. But as we said before, you want to play above 500 baseball. If you could do that and not have any more serious injuries, you should be okay.
Yeah, we'll get to their series in the next episode because it does get very, very tough. Well, and you're getting more and more attention now. So
Mm-hmm.
this is what White Sox fans, this is what you guys wanted. You wanted more attention, so now you're gonna be in the spotlight playing some of these tough games. So we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
You listen to Second City Sports on War Media. Second City Sports Podcast. I can't talk. That's a tongue twister. Along with Cindy Brown, I'm Lakeena McGee. Now let's go to the north side, Sid. Now the Cubs, they just couldn't sweep the Diamondbacks. I mean, they went 2 out of 3. Trade rumors are running rampant. Kimbrel is a hot name right now. He's kind of be like the hot market guy. I think there was already supposedly a trade that was announced. I think with him and the Padres, if I'm not mistaken, that turned out to be false. But they didn't win 2 out of 3, and that would have been really bad if they had been swept or they lost the series with the D-backs. Now they're playing Cincinnati as we speak. So Sid, what's your take on the Cubs, at least at this point, as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline?
As far as off the field is concerned, who's the next one to go? Will it be Kimbrel? Will it be Andrew Chafin? Will it be Chris Bryant? Will it be Wilson Contreras? I doubt it, but once again, you never know. Will it be Bias? I think that's the number one storyline around this team right now. They sit currently, as of this recording, 2 games under 500. That's the number one storyline right now. I just don't get the feeling right now. Unfortunately, I just have to say this, but I don't see them turning it around. They go on this miraculous run. Now, could it happen after the trade deadline if the bottom doesn't fall out? Of course it can, but I just don't see it with this team. Now, on the field, I wasn't shocked of what happened. You got hot against a bad Arizona team. Saturday's game, you were getting your brains beat in before the rainstorm. And so you weren't consistent enough in that. As I said in the last episode, you can't just show up on the field and take Arizona for granted. I think that's what happened on Saturday. Now, Sunday, they forced the issue. They piled on the runs. It could have been more, but it held up for a 5-1 victory. You shouldn't have had to use Craig Kimbrel this past Sunday, but they had to because their mineral relief couldn't hold Arizona off the base pass. But you were lucky to win the last game to win the series. But I think we'll get more answers about what this team is in the future after Saturday's trade deadline. No matter what happens this week in their 4-game series against Cincinnati at the friendly confines.
Yeah, I think that you're probably right about that. So we'll see if more guys go, or can Jed Hoyer get some value from a Chris Bryant. That way, in case he does leave, you can probably get something for him. And then also with everything else, I mean, I don't think Baez is gonna go. I don't think Contreras is gonna go either. I know, Cubs fans are kind of like giving Contreras a sideline for some of the comments he's made in recent weeks. But Kimbrel's probably your best your best bet. You can get something really good, especially if you get a desperate team that's in need of a reliever. So, I think if you're if you're Hoyer, you should hold out for that. Now, again, the schedule for the Cubs get kind of like, even keel. We get Cincy, you get Washington right after the deadline. They have 3 at Colorado. Then, of course, you got the White Sox series next weekend. Then you got 4 against Milwaukee. So, who knows, where the Cubs will be by that point. I mean, like I said, I don't think, and I've said it before, I don't think Milwaukee is gonna I don't think Milwaukee's gonna end up winning a division. I just don't trust that team right now. And look, could the Cubs go into a run after the trade deadline? Who knows? We've seen it. So it's not out of the question. I mean, yeah, it's a long shot, but it's not out of the question. So, I mean, who knows what the mindsets are going to be after the trade deadline? Some guys might be leaving, but also some guys might stay. That's just how crazy baseball is at times. So, it's going to be very interesting, though. It's going to be definitely something to look out for. And like I said, Jed Hoyer, look, he learned under Theo, although his style is completely different. Is he's more methodical than Theo. He's more, Theo's more analytical. Jed's a little more methodical. So, we'll see, how he does. And look, I'm like he knows what he's doing, so I'm sure he's going to get the best deals, or if he can, I don't think he's just going to give some of those guys that we mentioned and not expect to get anything back for them. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to be interesting, as things start heating up in the next few days, especially in baseball too, what we'll get to in a minute.
It's just that on the field, it's hard to get a tough read on this Cubs team, besides them being consistently inconsistent in terms of swinging the bats and putting runs on the board consistently. And this has been a problem for the last 3 or 4 years. And as you mentioned, we'll get to the best and worst of baseball from this past weekend in just a moment. But you catch Cincinnati at the right time. Of course, they've been in second place for the last couple of weeks. They had their struggles against the St. Louis Cardinals at home. And so maybe if you're the Cubs, maybe you can catch that spark of perhaps take 3 out of 4. The worst you could do is split, but you have to take 3 out of 4. Can this team do it? I don't know. You would hope, but it's hard to get it. A
read on the team.
A read on this team, especially as we mentioned with everything going on.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like I said, it's tough to kind of like have your mindset as with the trade rumors and such. So, you really don't know. Like, I guess if anything else, you want to play for pride, I guess. Maybe if that's
they do have something to play for.
They still have something to play for. So it's not like I said, I don't think Milwaukee's going to run away with the division. I still don't think they will. So again, you can kind of try to make a run and try to maybe, gain a couple of games and then maybe go on a run. They're capable? Yes. Will they do it? I doubt it. But again, you never know. Baseball's crazy. Baseball's crazy in a lot of ways.
Yes, baseball is crazy in a lot of ways. We'll see what happens to the men in blue this week. You're listening to Sega City Sports along with Lakeena McGee. I am Sydney Brown. Let's go around the diamond, Lakeena, the best and worst from the weekend. I'll start. One of the best baseball games I've watched this past Sunday. One, if not the best game of 2021 so far. The New York Yankees in the Boston Red Sox, of course. When those two teams get together, any and everything can happen. Of course, the Yankees had a chance to come out of Boston in that weekend series with a 2-2 split. It just wasn't in the cards. Domingo Germán pitched a no-hitter into the 8th inning, gave up a leadoff double to Alex Verdugo. And after that, the bottom fell out. The Yankees bullpen couldn't hold it. The Red Sox came back, scoring all 5 runs in the 8th inning, overcoming a 4-0 deficit to win the game 5-4 and splitting the 4-game series. The Red Sox still have a grip hold on that division over the Yankees and barely over the Tampa Bay Rays as they already started their Boston rather. They started their series with Tampa Bay. I'll get the schedule, but I know they'll have they'll play Tampa Bay coming up. So that's the game coming up next weekend, especially for Sunday Night Baseball. So my apologies, my correction on that. But Lakeena, as I said before, with the Red Sox, I'm not impressed by their starting pitching. I know they got Evaldi. I know Chris Sale is supposed to come back soon, and so maybe there'll be a boost. But their offense, not just Alex Verdugo, their center fielder, but Rafael Devers, JD Martinez, they have a dynamic lineup, and that's the reason why they're still in first place right now. And they showed that this past week, especially in that comeback last Sunday against the Yankees.
Well, oh God, I mean, if you're the Yankees, that wasn't a very good game for you. It's the third loss this season after holding a lead of 4+ runs in the eighth inning or later. That's tied for the most in the season in franchise history. So, yeah, if you're a Yankees fan, you're not feeling very good right now, especially since you had a no-hitter. Jermaine had a no-hitter go, 6 innings. So, like, what really, like, it's absurd. But I mean, I think it might be time for the Yankees to kind of just, call it a day. I mean, they've had their chance to get a 2-2 split. That didn't happen. They missed their opportunities. And look, a lot of, like, I know folks who follow sports, I know people who cover sports in New York. I'll probably try to get them on at some point. But, they can't, geez. I mean, like, I think it might be time for Aaron Boone to go. Like, I never thought I would say that, but this team has not met expectations, and in fact, they've been way below expectations, especially this season. A lot of folks thought that the Yankees would probably be right there in the division battling with Tampa Bay. That's not the case. So, like, you may have to start. You have struggles with Judge, you have struggles with Stanton, and your pitching has not been very consistent. So, if you're the Yankees, I know the Steinbrenner kids are saying that we don't want to sell off, but you may not have a choice at this point.
Yeah, they're not going to sell off everyone, but I'm sure they can move a guy or two to shake things up because things are not going their way. Let's be honest here. They're not going to win the division. It's either going to be Boston or Tampa Bay. The Yankees, I still believe they're 7 or 9.5 back in the wild card, and the wild card in the American League is going to be competitive this year. So you can't tell me that the Yankees are going to win the wild card. If you told me that right now, I would say I'm not putting any money on that. Just based on the way they've been playing.
Look, do you know how many teams they have to jump over to get to that even to the second wild card spot? There's a log jam.
At least 4 teams.
Yeah, but there's a log jam. So especially when you've got you've got Tampa, guys folks in your own division. You got Tampa, you got Cleveland, you got the teams in the AL West. I mean, the A's and perhaps the Mariners too. Yes, I said the Mariners. Yes, I think they can probably make.
The Yankees are currently 3.5 back of the wild card as of this recording for the second spot, held on by Oakland.
Yeah, so they're not. Yeah, so they're gonna have to jump over 4 teams in order to get to that second spot. I mean, look, is it doable? Yes, but again, you've got like a log jam of teams. You got to jump over 2 teams in order to get to that second wild card spot. So they probably won't sell off, but again, I think. And they may trade a guy to kind of, try to, jumpstart the team, but it's going to be very hard. They're going to have to pick it up. So we'll see what they can do. Now, my performer of the week, the weekend, if you will, is Mr. Shohei Ohtani from the Los Angeles Angels of Southern California, Orange County.
The OC.
Yeah, he became the 4th player born outside the U.S. to hit 35 home runs before the end of July in league history, joining guys like Sammy Sosa, David Ortiz, and Vinny Castilla. So, look, he's probably going to be very like your AL maybe MVP. I know we've seen all the stuff that Vlad Guerrero Jr. is doing. He's top 5 in pretty much every offensive category, but you got to think Ohtani with all the stuff he's doing. And he can also pitch too, folks. But I think he's definitely going to be the leader in the clubhouse for AL MVP, at least for right now. So who else for you was sort of like your performer of the week or worst performer? I guess you can say
let's go to that Toronto-New York Mets series. The Mets take 2 out of 3. And I saw you retweeted this over the weekend. I saw it on the highlights. So George Springer with a great catch in Saturday night's game in center field, diving head first to take a extra base hit away. That was spectacular. So Toronto, we talked about with the Yankees in the wild card race. Toronto needs to get their act together too. I know that they're facing the Boston Red Sox this week. We'll get to the rest of the schedule for this week for Major League Baseball in a couple of minutes. But Toronto needs to turn it around. I know and also they're going to have their first home game this coming Friday against Kansas City back in Toronto. I know the fans are excited up there to welcome their team back home after playing their home games on the road in 3 cities the last 2 years. So congratulations to the city of Toronto. We'll talk about that more about that in our next episode. But getting back to on the field, Toronto, they lost 2 out of 3 on the road to the Mets. The Mets, as of right now, looks like they'll win their NL East by default. The Atlanta Braves took it on the chin last Sunday in earning a split in Philadelphia. Aaron Nola for Philadelphia pitched an outstanding game for the Phillies. Atlanta, as we said before, I know Ronald Acuna Jr. is out for the year with a torn ACL, but they were struggling before his injury. I don't trust them to turn it around and go on the run. I just don't. Philadelphia, I like Joe Girardi as a manager, but do you think Philly's going to go on a tear? I don't see it. I just don't.
Yeah, they split their series with Atlanta over the weekend, and I think they had a chance to maybe win 3 out of 4, but I don't want to go into a whole thing about it. But yeah, the Phillies kind of remind me of the Cubs, but they're slightly better. They're kind of inconsistent with their pitching and their hitting. So, look, they're 4 back. We'll see if they make any moves. They could still make a case in the wild cards, in the wild card spot.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I mean, they're sort of like they're, I think what right now is the Dodgers and the Padres. So it's going to be tough to get in that wild card spot if you're anybody outside the National League West. So that's going to be a very interesting thing there. Now, again, could Atlanta how long can they hang on without how long can they hang on? So I don't know. I know it's going to be very interesting though. Do you trust the Mets to perhaps pull away in the NL East? I don't. I don't. I don't. I mean,
they're a good team, but they're not a great team.
No,
so,
they're not.
Like I said, they're they don't scare anybody. Speaking of teams trying to scare people, the Los Angeles Dodgers, Mookie Betts is back on the IL. He's dealing with that hamstring dating back to right before the All-Star break. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Colorado Rockies. If you're a Dodgers fan, are you hitting the panic button right now?
Well, no, actually, they won their series against it. They won 2 out of 3. It was actually they lost 3 out of 4 against the Giants before that series. That's probably when they actually play the Giants again.
You're correct. Yeah, you're correct. Yeah.
So.
But still, they didn't look that great against Colorado. It should have been 2 out of 3 they lost. But still, if you're a Dodgers fan, Mookie Betts on the IL again. Trevor Bauer, we know his off the field issues are. It looks like he may not pitch again this season. Are you hitting the panic button right now, or are you just waiting for them to go on a hot streak?
Well, look, we'll see if they can make any moves during the trade deadline. You're going to need another starter because it looks like Bauer is going to be gone for the year. You may have to try to get another Bats, now that Betts is banged up. Again, we'll see. I mean, I'm not freaking out. I mean, the only good thing is that the Giants are pulling away in that division. So you're still 2 back, I mean, as of right now. And look, the Giants have had their struggles lately, too. I mean, like I said, no one really expected the Giants to be up there. They're hanging on. Do I think they're going to hang on till the rest of the season? I doubt it. So we'll see if they make any moves. But again, look, they're the Dodgers. I think they'll turn it on when they need to. I'm sure they're on the lookout for, for some reinforcement. They're going to need another, like I said, they're going to need another pitcher. They may need another reliever too, since Jens has been struggling. But and look, I'm sure, Betts will be back. I mean, that hamstrings are bothering him, as before the break. You still got other guys in the lineup that can hit. So I'm not worried about the Dodgers. I mean, the Giants, can they hang on? They've held on this long. I don't think they will. I think the Dodgers will eventually take control of that division. I said that, right before the All-Star break. I'm going to keep it that way. The Padres, they made that deal with Frazier. We'll see if they make any moves. They need to get it together because they've got other teams behind them for that second wild card spot. So they're going to have to kind of, get it going too. I know Tatis Jr., it still continues to amaze. He became the second player in Padres history, I should say, with 30 home runs before the end of July. Jordan Greg Vaughn, there's a name for the record books. He had 38 in 98.
Take me back to my teenage years.
Yeah, that's a long way back, right? So so the Padres are gonna have to get it going. So I don't know. Like I said, I think that NL West is still up for grabs.
Let's go to the opposite in the AL West. The Houston Astros took care of the Texas Rangers. Uh, Seattle, Oakland did battle in the Pacific Northwest this weekend. Lakeena, I'm not saying Seattle's going to go on a huge run, but I wouldn't ignore them just yet. You know me, I like Oakland. I still think they're going to have a say as far as the wild card is concerned. As far as if they get into the playoffs, I think they'll have their say. But Houston, they're still good. But I think Oakland will have a say in this AL wild card. Don't ignore them. Just yet. Seattle, they just kind of sneaky. No one's talking about them.
And I think they like it that way. So,
Mm-hmm.
look, I'm not saying that they're gonna make a play for the National League West. I mean, the AL West. They're not. They're not gonna do it. So, again, they got a young, scrappy team. Again, look, they're right there for the wild card. I mean, like they're right after Oakland. They're like only 1.5, back in the wild card spot for the second wild
Mm-hmm.
card spot. So, they could also have a say as to who will win. Now, will they make any moves? It's going to be kind of tough because they really don't have
Mm-hmm.
they don't have a lot of assets. But again, we'll see. I mean, that AL wild card is a log jam. There's like what
Yeah.
5 or 6 teams within like 6 games or less. So
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely gonna look. The AL is definitely, like you said. So the AL wild card is definitely gonna be like a log jam. So it's definitely gonna be a fight, to probably the end of the season. So you got the Rays, you got the A's, you got the Mariners. The Yankees are still in it. I know that's hard to believe for the Yankees fans, but they are. Then you got Toronto, Cleveland, and the Angels. So they could
Mm-hmm.
look. They're still look. Some of those teams will probably definitely be making moves during right before the trade deadline.
I think you can cancel out the Yankees and the Angels, and not Seattle yet, but eventually you can. But like we mentioned before, it's going to be a log jam. Now, Tampa Bay, as we mentioned a few moments ago, I know they picked up Nelson Cruz from Minnesota over the last week or so. He's going to make that lineup that much more dangerous. We all know what the Tampa Bay's philosophy is. Just like this year's White Sox, timely hitting, great pitching, great defense. Nelson Cruz adds a big bat to that lineup, which gives uh, the Tampa Bay Rays that much more respect. Now, I would be more afraid of them and then Oakland if I'm a White Sox fan come playoff time. Yes, we can have more of these fun discussions right now before the playoffs start, but I wouldn't ignore Tampa Bay just yet. I know for Sox fans are worried about Houston, and rightfully so, but I'm worried about Oakland first, Tampa Bay second.
And look, I think Tampa is on a mission. Look, we'll see if they can hang on. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe they'll have another trade up their sleeve. Maybe they can get a pitcher.
I won't be
Maybe
shocked.
perhaps. Maybe get a pitcher, perhaps. I don't think the Red Sox are going to be, up there for long. Like you said, their pitching is still their pitching has actually stayed in there, but we'll see if the bottom falls out for
Mm-hmm.
them. So, look, the Rays are very interesting to me. Just considering that they made the World Series last year, and like you got a lot of those guys back, except for a couple of guys. So it's going to be very interesting and very intriguing to see what the Rays do, because I think they got another trick up their sleeve. I think.
And they could Boston have a trick up their sleeve? As we mentioned, Chris Sale is supposed to be back soon. He had Tommy John surgery. He missed all of last season. And so can they make another move to bolster up their bullpen? We shall see. Like you said, Tampa, I think they can make another move. Well, who will that player be? We'll just have to wait and see. But they could definitely use another starter. They got that bat. They could use another bullpen or more, perhaps a starter. And, starting pitcher, everybody wants that. It's hard to come back. Do you have the right assets to give these low bottom teams to satisfy them?
Oh, like I said, we'll see what happens. So let's talk before we move on to other stuff. Let's talk about some of the series we got coming up. As Sid
Mm-hmm.
said, you got Toronto and Boston. That should be an interesting one. There
Mm-hmm.
you got Atlanta and New York, Washington and Philly. Look, I've been saying for the last few weeks, the NL East, they're going to be beating each other up these next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting to see how the positioning, how who's going to come on top once it's after that point. It's going to be even harder, as we go to next month. We told you about Cincy and the Cubs,
Mm-hmm.
of course. The White Sox in Kansas City, Detroit and Minnesota, Colorado and the Angels, and Houston and Seattle. That should be a good one in the AL West. And maybe perhaps the Mariners can strike a little fear into the Astros, because I think you want to look, if you want to get to that point, you're gonna have to beat one of the top teams in your division. So we'll see what the Mariners
Mm-hmm.
do.
Yeah, just a couple of series that I'm going to be paying attention to this week is Oakland and San Diego. I know some people may have had this as a World Series matchup. I won't go that far just yet, but as I said before, Oakland's a dangerous team. San Diego needs to get their act together. They're a good team. They just made the acquisition for Adam Frazier over the weekend, so this is go time for both teams. But I think the pressure is more on San Diego to win this series because they're in a battle with the Dodgers and the Giants for the NL West title. And Oakland's they're in the battle with Houston as well, but more expectations has been placed on the Padres. So I think the pressure is on the Padres to win this series. Of course, now you have the Dodgers and Giants this time from San Francisco. We all saw that great series over this past week, what San Francisco did to the Dodgers in LA. Will the same result happen this time in their backyard, or will the Dodgers find it themselves to win that series? I'm be interesting to watch that one as well.
Oh, look, it's some very interesting series. And these are some of these series are not make or break. Let's not, go that
Hmm.
far. But again, these would definitely be positioning for teams, especially as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline. Should be a fun week in baseball. You listen to Second City Sports with Sydney Brown. I'm Lakeena McGee. What do you want to say, Sid? I'm sorry, I think I cut you off.
No, no, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so right before we go take our little break here and a little breather, we're gonna go over to some Olympics. I wish I could have the Olympics, theme going on in the background. That would have been so. I love that theme. Always gets me every time. But we're gonna go to men's basketball. Team USA lost to France on Sunday. Yeah, early Sunday. It was Sunday night in Japan, but early Sunday
Hmm.
here in the States. It's their first loss in Olympic play since '04 when they lost to Argentina. Of course, that team ended up winning the silver. Sid, I mean, look, there are so many things you can say that's wrong with the U.S. men's basketball team. It seems like now everybody's a basketball expert. I mean, once that loss happened, so it's just crazy. But what do you think, Sid? I mean, I'm gonna say it first. I mean, look, it's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, you've got Evan Fournier, and then you got Rudy Gobert on that team.
Hmm.
I mean, I know they were like a 12-point favorite the US was, but there were a lot of factors going into
Hmm.
this matchup. And I think people just need to kind of, give them I'm not saying give them a break, but kind of give them a little bit of leeway. But what do you think, Sid? 'Cause I'm gonna say my thoughts, after you.
A couple of things that I took away from that loss on Sunday with the Team USA. We told you for the last couple of weeks, outside of Bam Adebayo, the big man for the Miami Heat, the U.S. was going to struggle with the athletic big men from other teams, especially in pick and roll. That's exactly what France did, especially in that second half. Number two, the world does not fear USA basketball anymore, and we told you guys this. Superstars that play in the NBA, they're from other countries. They're playing for their home countries, and that's what we're looking at right now. We'll talk about some of the other players on the flip side of this break. And number three, from the loss, Kevin Durant, who's one of the best players in the NBA and one of the best scorers in this generation. He struggled. He eventually fouled out, but he struggled with foul trouble all night long. And U.S. just couldn't get it going, especially in that second half. Kevin Durant struggled with foul trouble. Damian Lillard had a good first half, struggled in the second half. Zach LaVine from the Chicago Bulls, he had a nice dunk. He had a three-point shot. His three-point shot in that fourth quarter saved Team USA, and that was the last bucket they scored for the 4.5 minute stretch before France took over at the end. I don't know if you caught Evan Fournier's comments after the game on the NBC telecast. He told Lewis Johnson that they saw a weakness with the USA with a couple of the players just joining the team, i.e. Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Devin Booker. So I thought he brought up a good point right there. He said, and I said, yes, Chris Middleton didn't play, but Devin Booker did, and Drew Holiday, who saved Team USA in the start of that fourth quarter. He was the best player on both teams early in that fourth quarter. And so Fournier was correct on that. They saw a weakness in the Team USA. They weren't playing together. They're not playing in one unit, in which he was correct. But the world doesn't fear USA basketball anymore. And you could say that things would be different if Steph Curry was playing, if James Harden was playing, and some of the other top guys from the NBA were playing. But this is the team that you have. Your lack of big man and the lack of defense in the pick and roll is eventually is going to cost you. And I expect them to beat Iran tonight, and I expect them to beat the Czech Republic on